Good afternoon. It's Annie from the Energy Medicine Clinic, joined here today on this blustery, freezing rain afternoon, March the 2nd, 2024, in lovely Medicine Hat, Alberta. I have a guest speaker here with me tonight.
Hello.
Welcome, Jack. Jack is a 12-year-old boy with all sorts of insights on how life works. And I'm very pleased to welcome him to the show today.
Hey.
Is this your first podcast series that you've been appeared on?
Yep.
Yes? And are you excited?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Good. What are you most excited about?
I'll have to think about that.
Okay. That's no worries. Well, what I talk about here on this show is it's a matter of life and death, is what the podcast is called. And so we can either talk about something death related or something very important in life related. Do you have a preference?
Life, mainly.
Life. Okay. Tell me about your life.
I don't know.
Tell me about your home. Who do you live with?
My mom, my brother, my dad, and my dog.
And your dog. What's your dog's name?
Ruby.
Ruby. What kind of dog is Ruby?
She's a golden retriever.
Is she red? Ruby red?
I would say she's more golden.
Okay. Well, that makes sense if she's a golden retriever. What do you like best about spending time with Ruby?
Just cuddling with her.
Is she a good cuddler?
Mm-hmm.
Golden retrievers are very good cuddlers. Dogs, in fact, are good cuddlers and good containers. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Not exactly.
Okay, well, a container is a device used to hold something. And dogs, pets of all descriptions, but dogs specifically are more common, dogs and cats, they are good containers for emotion. So when people cuddle with a pet, they can tell the pet anything. And the pet just receives the emotion or the conversation shared with them. And it's just a safe place for people to talk. And there's no judgment. There's no response really that's negative. And that sort of unconditional acceptance is very, very valuable in a healing sort of way. Do you find Ruby's really good for that sort of thing, or have you not really considered doing that?
Not really considered it before.
So next time, if you're feeling upset, give Ruby a cuddle and tell her all about it. She's going to love you no matter what you say. And that unconditional love is important for healthy mental development and that sense of belonging and safety emotionally. It's a great, great thing. That's why they have a lot of therapy dogs. They have a lot of therapy dogs for all sorts of different reasons. You know, people who have epilepsy or they're blind or they have PTSD, therapy dogs are very helpful for that. But a dog can be an unofficial therapy dog just by being the receptacle, being the container for people's emotions.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're never going to judge you. And they're always happy to see you. And 5 minutes after you leave, it feels like you've been gone for an hour to them. And they're super excited and they'll love you up. It's a great way to build resiliency. Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, do that. What sort of other things do you have going on in life that you're excited about or you're happy about or you'd like to talk about? What's the biggest issue a 12-year-old boy faces these days?
Honestly, I don't know.
Is it school related, do you think, for most kids? It doesn't have to be for you.
I would say mainly school. Yeah, just having to wake up every day and go there constantly. And some days are fun, but a ton of them are really just boring and plain.
Boring and plain. But sometimes it's fun.
Yeah.
What would it take to make every day fun, do you think?
More diversity and less sitting down for 4 or 5 hours straight.
Diversity in terms of like the class content or the activities or the way you learn?
Activities and the way I learn.
Yeah. You think it's fairly same old every day?
Most days. Maybe once a month we might do a cool little experiment, but not enough to keep me connected with school.
Do you think most kids share that? Do you think that's a common thing for a lot of kids?
I have no idea. I haven't really talked to anyone about it.
When you look around your classroom, do you see kids are mostly engaged or do they seem checked out?
Usually checked out just talking with their friends, and if you try to pay attention for a while, it gets boring and then you just lose your train of thought.
And then what happens in the classroom?
The teacher usually talks most of the time teaching us about stuff, and seems like they're not being efficient about it, and it's really boring because we learn mostly the same stuff almost every day.
You learn mostly the same stuff over and over again, so that would be kind of boring, hey? And when the days that are fun, is that because there's more variety, or is that just because you're in a different mood that day, maybe?
Mood and variety, mainly variety.
What's your most favorite subject at school?
Probably math, just because it's something that's harder, and it's not just listening, you actually have to try.
You have to engage your brain.
Like, I don't like being there, but the most likable is doing it because I'm actually like engaging rather than just listening the whole time.
Right. That makes sense. And so when you see the kids at school, what kind of school do you go to?
Middle school / high school. Like the kids?
Yeah, so like grades 7 to 12?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many kids are in your school approximately?
I think 1,000 or a bit more than that.
That's quite a bit of kids. It's quite a lot. So when you look around at your school and you see, nearly 1,000 kids, and you think the biggest challenge they're facing right now is being engaged. They're not interested and they're bored.
Mainly, and a ton of the drama that happens in school.
Lots of drama. Like friend drama or other drama?
Mostly relationship, like friends and boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah. People not getting along or people changing and lots of gossiping and things like that.
Yeah.
That's been the way for a lot of years. I don't think that's changed since I was in school, that's for sure. And so when you're in school these days, how does it feel with the use of technology? Because when I went to school, there was no technology. The biggest piece of technology was maybe a film projector that would get wheeled in on a cart and the ribbon of film would be on it. Or maybe, as things got, more progressive, there was VCR movies. But we didn't have laptops. We didn't have smart boards. We didn't have iPads or cell phones, things like that. How do you suppose that contributes to the environment in the classroom?
I think for the most time it helps. It's just they restrict people that get their work done. And for example, you finished all your work, you have free time, and this is from my personal experience. You play some games and then you get in trouble for it. And okay, yeah, I shouldn't be doing it. And they restrict everybody, but I think they should mainly be restricting, because they do a ton of technology, but they restrict a ton of the stuff that you do on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they restrict everybody instead of restricting the people that need to be, because it kind of brings it down, because in my opinion, there's a ton of potential for what's happening right now.
Right.
But they're mainly just not really helping with that.
So if you had free time available on the computer or the tablet or the device that you're using and you had all your work done, what sort of things do you think would be beneficial for you to spend your free time on while you were in the classroom waiting for the next class to start?
What I usually do is I check the main missing assignments that I have, and if pretty much all of them are done or all of them are done, I have nothing else to catch up on, and she doesn't really have anything else for me to do. I either play a little bit or I just work on some, just practice some math, but I'd say I still get pretty good grades, and I don't really try too much.
Right. But if you could pick what you could spend that time on, if there were no restrictions, what would you choose to spend your time on that would be engaging and exciting for you?
Experiments,
mainly. Oh, like science experiments?
Yeah, because we learn a ton about science, I would say. More recently, they've been doing more cool things about it, but if they could have it like more cool experiments, more engaging, like cool, like anything that's different, out of the ordinary that you usually wouldn't do, would be nice to have.
So you'd like to read about the experiments, or you'd actually like to learn so that you could do them?
Well,
or just watch the ones that other people did?
Try little demos versions of it, because every once in a while the teacher brings in a little experiment for us to do, but that's only every few weeks, so it's not that engaging that often.
Right.
So if you could increase that and encourage teachers to do that more often, it would be way more engaging and way more fun to be there.
What was one of the experiments that were brought in?
It wasn't exactly like that engaging, but it's different because we were learning about something inside of thermometers, and I think it was a bimetallic strip that
Okay.
we were learning about, and no, it wasn't that. There was a ring and a metal ball that would regularly fit through, but she brought a blowtorch in
Right.
and heated up the metal ball, and then showed the particles expand from heat and move around faster, so they couldn't go in.
Right.
And I found that pretty cool, rather than her just talking about it.
So you prefer learning something hands-on,
Yeah.
where you can actually see it and get involved as opposed to just listen to it.
Yeah.
Has there been any opportunity for you to share that sort of insight about how you learn best with your teacher?
Yeah, every month we go to the assembly and fill out a Google form on what the school could improve on.
Right, and you get a chance to share your words there.
Yeah.
Does it feel like you're heard?
I think I feel like you can be heard, but it's really hard for 1 out of 1,000 kids to do it. Unless a ton of like more than 100 people are saying the same thing. It's hard to be heard.
Right, because you'd have maybe, 50 or 100 different things to try. And how would they pick which one was the best one?
I'm pretty sure they got an AI to go through all of them and do the most repeatedly said ones.
Right?
Like saying, you need to do this, you need to fix this. They get an AI to see which one did that the most.
Right, to analyze it.
And then did the top 3 or top 4.
How do you feel about AI technology?
I think it's pretty interesting. I feel like it's pretty good with what it's at right now.
How do you use it in your life? As a 12-year-old, how do you know what to do with AI?
I usually just use it to fool around and just experiment, but I feel like in the future it's going to be used for more necessary stuff, like with AI robots moving around or AI driving, like autopilot, whatever.
Right?
I think it's going to be interesting. It's scary because it could go into bad people's hands, but I don't think it'll be that bad. Some people are probably going to abuse it, but
That's the way it is with a lot of things in life. It could be used for good or bad.
yeah.
So when you say you play around with it and you experiment, are you using like Chat GPT, or are you using Doll-E to create pictures, or what's your platform that you prefer to use?
Mainly ChatGPT, because when I first got it, I just made it write a random poem
Interesting.
about pickles.
Have you shared that poem with anyone?
Yeah, me and Aiden were fooling around with it. One of my school friends were fooling around with it a few months ago, and it was pretty interesting.
That'd be neat for you to share that poem. You don't have to do that right now. Clearly you're here as a guest and didn't bring your poem material with you, I'm sure, did you?
Nope.
No. If you could pick something that AI could help you with, what would be something that would be helpful and useful?
Problems with maybe general financial issues, something to help you with that.
Like in terms of teaching you how to save money or make money?
Yeah, how to make money, how to
Like AI stockbrokers?
yeah, and investing and that type of stuff, because I feel like they could be really good with that because they could scan.
Right? And predict?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the sorts of things you think AI would be useful for you to have access to?
To research and to help build stuff, like to create new things that haven't been created or tried before, which would probably help because not too many people are running out of ideas, but having a new AI creating thousands of new unknown ideas is pretty cool.
Sure, it would be. I think a lot of 12-year-olds would like to have an AI that worked with a robot to clean their rooms up. Bring their dishes upstairs and deal with the garbage and fold their clothes and put it away. I think every 12-year-old would like that, as well as every 42-year-old. I don't think there'd be anybody that would be unhappy with having an AI-assisted butler or housekeeper.
Yeah, that'd be pretty nice.
Do you think people could get too dependent on AI and get really lazy or lose their creative edge?
Yeah, it depends how much they use it. If they limit themselves to maybe just basic things if you're one day you're not really feeling the best to do a job for you, or do some harder jobs that's stressful, like taxes or something that would put a lot of stress on you and could just hurt you or something. You could get them to do that, and then you could do the weaker stuff and still have good imagination, still be in shape, still not be as lazy. You could use it to help you, just not overuse it.
What do you think one thing that AI could never replace?
People.
In what sense? Like the
Friends.
interaction, the companionship?
Like friends and relationships and all of that. Unless, like, maybe from 100 years from now, if each person has AI friends and all of that, they probably won't think of it that much. But, for example, if it went to that 40 years from now, and I would still be around, I'd probably be pretty sad not having actual humans around.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, a robot probably wouldn't be exactly the same, would it? It might be a little lonely.
Yeah.
What if the AI, though, was very interactive?
I would think it would be pretty cool, but
Nothing really replaced that human connection.
yeah.
Pretty hard to cuddle with a robot, too, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Watch a movie and snuggle up on the couch with a blankie and popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if popcorn is compatible with AI robots.
Yeah.
Probably not. What sort of other things, what worries do 12-year-olds have these days?
Probably just friends and drama and like schoolwork, mainly school and what happens inside of it with drama and their friends and relationships.
Mm-hmm. Is there a lot of pressure on 12-year-olds to have relationships, like romantic relationships these days?
I wouldn't say it's pressured onto them, but most of them, I think, aren't doing it like smartly. Like they would get a girlfriend and they wouldn't know what they're doing, and then they'd break up, and it's not as connecting as it usually would be, because I feel like they're just doing it to do it.
Right.
And if
like to pretend they have a serious relationship and they just say, this is my girlfriend or this is my boyfriend, but it doesn't really mean much yet?
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think they should save for later when they're maybe 16-year-old. I'm not saying they can't, because they might really, really like them. They might really like each other, but I feel like most of them don't really understand the meaning. I don't really, but I don't think they understand it enough to actually go through with it.
Right. Right. Well, that's smart. That's smart. What are some of the things that inspire you about the world these days, that bring you joy and excitement and wonder?
New inventions. Like I'm not really caught up with all the new inventions, but I think it's pretty cool.
Would you like to be an inventor?
I don't have the determination or motivation to do it, but if it comes up one day, then yeah.
Well, sometimes the expression is necessity is the mother of invention, which means if you really need it, you'll find a way to make it happen. You'll find a way to create it. Mm-hmm. But
I don't really have that need yet.
Okay. What else would you like to share? What are your thoughts on death? As a 12-year-old, what are your thoughts on death?
Well, I'm not old enough to, I wouldn't say I'm not old enough, I'm not experienced enough to really understand it.
Right.
I don't know what happens. Nobody really knows, and nobody else knows that they're telling the truth, that knows what happens in the afterlife.
Right. But if you had to guess and just pretend it, whether you're right or wrong, like you say, whether you're 12 or 42 or 82, how are you actually really going to know for sure one way or the other? But if you were pretending that you knew, what are some of the possibilities, do you think?
In the afterlife, I wouldn't say you'd be exactly in the afterlife, you'd just be born again in a new soul and a new body, just wiped of everything.
Right.
You do that infinitely until humans don't exist anymore or something happens.
Do you think the person always comes back to Earth as a human? Or do you think maybe they come back to Earth as an animal or a plant?
Maybe they wouldn't come back to Earth. They'd come back anywhere, wherever it existed.
Right, anywhere in the universe, or maybe even somewhere that we are not even aware of right now.
Yeah.
Like another planet even, or another solar system, or something else. Like, it's hard to know what a color looks like if you've never seen it before, but maybe there's other colors out there that we just don't know about, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Other worlds that we don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. If you could come back as something other than a 12-year-old, or actually as a newborn human male, what would you like to try? Given what you know about the world now, or what you imagine, what would you like to pick if you could pick for your next life?
A dog.
A dog.
Because I would usually be put around with humans, and that'd be pretty interesting to help them emotionally and just hear what's happening in their lives.
You'd like to be a container.
Yeah. I could just hear what's happening and just listen.
Yeah. That'd be very supportive of you. You could do that as a job, as a grown-up when you get older now. If you wanted to, there's people that are paid to do that.
I would think that's interesting to try, but I wouldn't want to spend my life listening to other people.
Right.
And I could be doing, well, it might be really fun for certain people, but it's not my thing. Like, in this life, I want to spend my time doing something else.
What would you like to do in this life?
I don't know yet. As soon as I learn more and I find what else really interests me, because I might have a hobby for a few days, a few months, maybe a year or two, and then after that it just kind of fades away.
Right.
It's not as fun or exciting or thrilling, and then I wouldn't want to think when I'm 10, 12, 14, 15 that I want to do that when I grow up and have a different hobby later.
Right.
So I'd want to wait until I'm getting into the part where I'm going to have to choose one for my life. I'd want to see what's available.
Back in the olden days, and when I say olden days, I mean, 60 years ago, back when my parents were in their career ages, people generally did one career, sometimes two careers. And there was a lot of expectation that you would just go out of high school and go straight into a trade or a job, or you would be put into a role and you'd spend 40 years working there and you'd get a $40 watch at the end of it. And that would be sort of your life, your career. But now, I'm not sure exactly what the current statistics are, but in my early 20s, people were talking about you'd have an average of 3 or 4 careers in your life. So there's nothing to say that what you'd like to do when you're 12 or you're 20 or you're 30 is guaranteed to be what you're doing when you're 50, 60, 70 years old. And some people find great comfort in that because it means they're not stuck. And if you change your mind, you've got something else that you can try, or you find something else that you've never been exposed to before, you can experiment and go down that rabbit hole and see if it really, holds interest for you. So I wouldn't think that as a 12-year-old you would need to necessarily have to cement what it is that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life.
I'm not saying that I would want to do that now or later. I'd want to experiment and see before I have to choose, before I actually have to fully commit to something eventually.
Yeah.
I'd want to try a few different things and see how that ends up and see if I like it.
Well, that's fair. What are some of the things on the options that you'd like to consider trying?
Something to do online so I could travel.
Okay, so you can work remotely.
So I could just bring, or something that I can just move around with diversity.
I know that you had said at one time you'd like to maybe own a convenience store too. Is that still something that interests you?
Kind of. I wouldn't want something like McDonald's. It's something so big and massive and have massive responsibility over. If I were to have something like that, I'd want it to be where I could live a nice fancy life, but not be so big where I have to be constantly focusing on where I could still live my life.
You'd like to have a balance.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would you describe as a fancy life?
Being money-wise, being able to buy something without saying I have to save for this for a long time, but not necessarily just buying stuff because you can.
Right. You like to have your bills paid. And I know that you had said in previous conversations when we were speaking before that you'd like to maybe have a smaller house so that you could have a smaller mortgage and then be able to afford to buy nicer, bigger things inside that home. Right. That's good. That's good wisdom.
Have less responsibility, but have more fun.
Nice. Good. Any other final words of wisdom you have? What do you think grown-ups need to know that maybe they're not listening to the young people share? If you could share some wisdom, what do you suppose would be important for grown-ups to listen to?
Give younger people more availability to speak out. And say stuff. I'm not saying all people aren't saying that, just give. I'm not saying let a 10-year-old make big decisions, but maybe make someone younger that's like maybe 16, 14 just say something.
Right. You'd like to have a voice and be heard and have that input considered more.
Not me specifically, but I'd feel like a ton, if not most, of people don't think they're being as heard as much as they should.
Right. Because they're young, do you think maybe their input isn't as valued?
Yeah.
Because it's not based on experience?
Yeah.
What do you suppose it would be based on? What do you suppose it'd be based on?
Okay, wait, can you repeat that?
You betcha. If you had wisdom and things to share that you wanted to feel was important to be heard, but you didn't associate it with experience because you were young, where do you suppose those words of inspiration or suggestions, what do you suppose they're based on?
Well, I haven't tried to really speak out or anything. I haven't tried to do any of that, but I feel like a few people have tried and they haven't succeeded. I haven't exactly tried myself.
What stops you from wanting to share your thoughts? Or has it just not occurred to you that that would be something you should do?
It's just at the moment it doesn't really seem something that I'm too interested in. Maybe in the future I might be, but right now I'm not.
Right, because you don't have a big message that you need to get out.
Yeah.
And if you did think you had a big message to get out, what do you suppose would be the best way to share that?
Probably through social media and events.
Okay.
Where a ton of people meet up in person.
Right.
And or social media where people are less toxic or whatever, and just wherever like a main platform that's meant just for people to speak and for other people to listen.
Mm-hmm. And what about in your home or your community, just with your school and your friends and your family? If you had ideas that you wanted to share, on a smaller basis as opposed to the world, what do you suppose the best communication platform for that would be?
Like online or in real life?
No, in real life.
Probably just starting up conversations with people.
Yep.
Like, just starting up a conversation, ask them about it, and give your ideas and see what they say, and then move on to bigger and bigger things at events and...
Start small and work your way up.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you have any final parting wisdom, anything that you'd like to share now that you have an opportunity for people to hear your thoughts?
Not exactly, no.
No? Okay. Well, if you have something you'd like to share, I would welcome you to come back to the show and we can discuss it, see what we can do to help spread the word and share your ideas and maybe teach some grown-ups a thing or two about life. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jack. Appreciate that. And for all of you out there, please tune in as we will be hosting regular podcasts as it's a matter of life and death. Have a great day.